What does the last step in my offshore investing process look like for me as a South African? Hi friends, it's Tegan here again. I've previously shared details about how I get my rands into dollars in order to invest them offshore. But I haven't shown you what happens next. In this video, I'm going to show you the offshore brokerage that I use, which is called Interactive Brokers. I'll give you an overview of the UI, and then I'll actually show you how to buy shares and also how to download things like dividend statements. Let's get into it. From South Africa, you will use the interactivebrokers.co.uk URL. As you can see, they do support multi-factor authentication, which is always a good thing for security. And here is the basic welcome UI. You can see on the left, there is a summary of all my balances. So that will include any money that I have in the account that I haven't yet bought shares with, as well as dividends that I am soon to be paid, and unrealized profit and loss, which is basically the amount that my shares have changed by. Front and center of the UI, you can see a graph showing how my portfolio value has grown since I opened it. And you can view both the value in dollar amount or the performance as a percentage. On the performance view, they also give you the option to display the performance of a common index, which gives you the ability to compare how your portfolio has done in relation to one of those common indices. Above the graph, you can see that there are a few different tabs that you can click to see different views. So let's just have a look at the portfolio one for now. And you can see that it shows me a list of all of my holdings. I only have one holding at the moment, but if I had more, they would all be listed here. And it shows how much that particular stock currently costs, as well as how much of my money is invested in that stock. If I want to see more detail with regards to that specific stock, I can click on it and I'll see a very detailed graph with all of the stock movements. This is also a place where I can buy more of the stock or even sell my stock if I want to, as you can see on the right. If I click on buy, this new little window will pop up on the right that'll show me how much money I currently have available to spend, and it'll also show me the price of the stock I'm interested in, and then at the bottom it'll give me all the options for how much I want to buy. You can see that you can specify how much you want to buy either in number of shares or in USD. I usually have like a very random amount of USD that I want to use to buy the stock. So I will usually use the USD option and then just put in how much I have. The one thing to be aware of is that the fee for a transaction is $4. It's a flat fee, so it doesn't matter whether you're buying $14 worth of something or $14,000 worth of something. It'll always just cost $4. But you have to be aware of this because when you put in how much USD you want to spend on this stock, you have to account for that $4 fee already. So whatever balance you have, just minus $4 and put that into how much you want to spend. So underneath where you specify how much you want to buy, there is a section for order type and time in force. I'm not going to go into all of the detail about what the difference is between a limit order and a market order, etc. For me, I always choose market. And basically all that means is that as soon as the market reopens, if it happens to be closed right now, this order will just execute, regardless of what the price of the stock is at that time. Let's say I was doing this on a Saturday morning when all of the stock markets are closed. It's going to tell me that the stock is $138.57 because that was the price that it was on Friday afternoon. As soon as it reopens, that price can change. I don't care about that for this use case because I'm investing for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And so a small fluctuation in the price is not going to matter to me. However, if you were doing something like day trading, then you might care about the cents of the stock price, and that's a use case for when you would choose a different type of order. Okay, but for me, I'm just going to go with a market order. Then time in force, again, I'm not going to go into too much detail. I usually would either say day if I'm doing this on a weekday when I know that the stock market's open, or if I'm doing it on a Saturday morning, I will say good till cancelled, which basically means that I don't want this to cancel for any reason. I want Interactive Brokers to execute this order as soon as the market opens, even if that's in 3 days. Okay, now that I've set all these parameters, I'm going to go ahead and click buy order. Now, for some reason, no matter how many times I tick the do not show this again box, every single time I do this, I still get these same warnings. But I suppose it's not a bad thing because it's a good reminder of what's happening and what I'm actually telling IB to do, okay? And this happens to me so often, it's so frustrating. It's basically just a little UI issue. So remember I told you about how the fee for the transaction is $4, and so you must remove that from your balance when you set how much you want to spend. The problem is that they round the amount that they show on the screen as how much you have available. So in this case, it told me I had $1,284 available, which is why I said, okay, cool, $4 less, I'll spend 1,280. But the reality was that I actually had just less than 1,284. So I didn't have enough cash to place this order. All I have to do is repeat the process, but this time saying 1,279. Okay, so here we go. This time it went through successfully. And you won't see it here because I've blurred the values, but all of my balances have updated, showing that I no longer have any cash available, but my holdings in the stock have increased. And you can see here on the main dashboard page that it's showing me my recent transactions. The reason why it's showing a few separate transactions is because when it executes fractional shares, so I don't know if you noticed earlier, but the dollar amount that I entered equated to 9 point something shares, right? So I had enough money to cover 9 full shares plus some fractional shares. And when it does that, it has to execute them slightly separately. And that's why it will display as a few separate transactions, but it is really just the same order. It's one order where I've bought my $1,200 worth of stock. Okay, and so now the last thing I want to show you is how to get information about the dividends that you've earned. The reason why this is important is because as a South African taxpayer, I have to report that I have earned dividends from these stocks. SARS doesn't have a direct connection to Interactive Brokers to be able to know that I've earned dividends, but it is still very much within my responsibilities as a taxpayer to report those earnings to SARS. And yes, that means I will get taxed on them. Because they are dividends, they're subject to a dividend withholding tax, which is a flat rate of 20%. I'm not going to go into detail now, but based on the specific stock that I'm buying, I have not had to pay dividend tax elsewhere, but that will depend on which stock you buy. One of the cool things about Interactive Brokers is that you can build your own statements or reports. Basically, you set up a bunch of queries and you say, okay, I want to be able to generate this report. When I come today, I will give it this time frame, and when I come next month, I'll give it a different time frame, but I want it to give me the same information each time. And in order to do that, I have to go to the tab at the top that says Performance and Reports, and then Statements. And you'll see that there are a few default statement types that you can just run for a set time period if you want that information. Or as you can see at the bottom here, I have my custom one called dividends. But I'm just going to show you quickly how you would create your own custom statement. In the custom statement section, you would just press this little plus button on the right. Then you can add a name. Obviously, it would be something like dividends, or maybe you want trade confirmation or stock price. Then here it's giving you all the options for sections that you can include in this report. So here, for example, if I wanted to look at the interest that I've earned, then I would choose combined interest, and then deposits and withdrawals for some reason. And there are a whole bunch of options here, which I think the best way to understand what they do is just to play around and see what you get. Then at the bottom here, it asks you to choose the format and what kind of reporting period you would want for this report. It's a little bit misleading because you can actually change these two things when you run a report. It's not set in stone for that template. But anyway, I'm just going to choose HTML and daily for now. And there I go ahead and review it and then create it. And now I can run it if I want to. And as I said here, you can change the date range, and then you can also view either PDF, HTML, or CSV. Here's an example of HTML, and as you can see there, it's showing deposits and withdrawals for the time period that I chose. I think it's maybe not showing interest because I probably didn't earn any interest for that period that I chose. I'll show you what my dividends one looks like as well. So this is the one that I use to report my dividends to SARS. So I usually download a CSV and then I will copy that into a Google Sheet that I have, which I then use to convert the dividends from USD to rands, and then I report the rands on my tax return. I've heard from a lot of people, and I do tend to agree, that the Interactive Brokers UI is quite busy and quite a lot to get used to at first. But once you click around a little bit and you get used to it, it's not actually that bad. You learn how to just focus on the things that you need to know about.